It's time for another one-off rebuild, and as you can probably tell by the title and the thumbnail, we're going to be trying to rebuild one of the biggest and most successful club sides in the history of football, Manchester United. That's right, we'll be taking over as Manchester United boss within Football Manager, giving ourselves 5 seasons to try and rebuild the club, focusing on transfers and a tactic to try and make this team a success. That's not to say in recent years they haven't been successful. They won the Carabao Cup with Ten Hag, in 2017 I think it was, if we see it here. They did win what Mourinho called his treble, which was the Europa League, Community Shield and Carabao Cup, but that isn't the success that United were used to in the 90s, the noughties and the early 2010s. And whilst they're watching their city rivals win the treble, watching Liverpool, Chelsea winning Champions Leagues in recent years, Man United want to be up there with those clubs. Now we have got new transfers here at Manchester United to hopefully help the team out and drag us towards that title eventually. Rasmus Højlund has obviously been signed. Mason Mount also came in this summer, who's very highly rated within Football Manager. And their new goalkeeper, much better with the ball at his feet, Andre Onana, the Cameroonian, signing from Inter Milan to be the new keeper at United. They have definitely fixed some problem positions in the squad, but that's not to say that everywhere is fixed, because they still need, in my opinion, a lot of work, and that's what we'll be trying to do today. We have got some young players to help build the club around, though, the likes of Alejandro Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo, whose name I might have pronounced completely wrong there, also looks like a very talented midfielder, but a long way off being first team ready yet in the Football Manager world. So hopefully our stars like Bruno, Rashford and Casemiro too can help drag this side to the top of the Premier League. We're going to have to do a lot of work, and we haven't got too much money to spend financially. If we look in the budgets, we have got a pretty healthy balance. How much of that we'll get to spend is another question, and we've got a great base to build from with a huge stadium, great facilities all around and a really nice coaching setup. But in these 5 years we're going to aim to deliver Man United the Premier League and also the Champions League. Before we get started though, if you do enjoy the video, please go ahead, smash that like button for us. I know you might hear every YouTuber say it and just not really think much of it, but it really does help the videos if you take a few seconds, completely free to do, to click that button. YouTube then sees you've done that, thinks, wow, that must be a great video, let's promote it more, and it really does help the channel. On top of that, we are getting very close to the goal of 25,000 subscribers that we've been aiming for a long time. So if you are someone that is watching and hasn't yet subscribed, or if you're in this percentage of people, which is quite high, even if just some of those subscribed, we would hit 25k. So if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button, and finally comment down below which rebuild you want to see next. All of these rebuilds come from suggestions from you guys, so drop them in the comments below and it could be your team getting rebuilt next. But yes, Manchester United, as mentioned, we've got some great players in the team, some good young players in the development centre. Højlund, Mainoo, Garnacho, Shortire, Palestri, Amad Diallo, Hannibal, all of these we need to figure out a pathway for in the first team, some more first team ready than others. Whether we'll keep them all around forever is another question, but one problem we do have here at Man United is a lot of our key players being not super old but quite old. Eriksen, Casemiro, Varane aren't the youngest in the world. We've got some deadwood players like Bailly, Lindelof. Maybe we need to refresh the team a little bit there, and with 15 million and plenty in the wage budget, I'm going to try in season 1 to make a few transfers to improve the team, and then in the other 4 seasons we'll really get into it with some big transfer changes. But for the first season, let's see if we can do a little bit of business with the money we've got left. And you know what? We actually did some pretty good transfers. I feel like we've got a couple of players out that we want to move on, and we've brought a decent talent in my opinion. Firstly, Eric Bailly, 28-year-old centre-back, wasn't really needed. He was on the transfer list when the game started. I've tried offering him out. Monaco came in, 8.5 million. He goes out the door, and that's money in the bank for us, for a player whose time is really up in a Manchester United shirt. And yes, I know Eric Bailly has left Manchester United in real life already, but the transfer update we're using here was very late in the transfer window, so Bailly I think moved after that. So yes, not every single transfer is reflected, but all the important ones are. Victor Lindelof we've managed to move on as well. I know he is still a good centre-back in a way at Man United, but we've got Varane, we've got Martinez, we've got Johnny Evans as cover this year, who as you can see is ranked at the same level as Martinez in this Football Manager world. And then there's also space for one more centre-back, and you'll see we have filled that position with a new signing. But yes, Lindelof goes to Monaco too. £15.5 million or so is a good deal in my eyes. 20 million-ish for Lindelof and Bailly, we can just reinvest it in the team and forget those two ever really happened. At the same time, Amad Diallo has gone on loan to Zenit, and Hannibal is going to the French league to play for RC Lens for the year. And our incoming at centre-back is Goncalo Inácio, a Portuguese defender coming in from Sporting Club de Portugal, 35 mil. The transfers of Bailly and Lindelof covered a big portion of that, and we bought a player here who's 20 years of age. He's younger than Varane and Evans, obviously. He can learn from them over the next couple of years, particularly Varane, and eventually take over in that centre-back spot. He is left-footed as well, which is something I felt like we needed in the team, and I really like his attributes. I like his potential too. Is he going to be world-class? Who knows, but he is valued at over £60 million now, and we got him for only 35 million, so it seems like good business to me, and that is our team ready. Now, in terms of the tactic, I haven't exactly matched the roles of what Erik ten Hag uses, but I've matched the rough shape that he's been using with Man United, and our best 11 right now apparently would be Onana in goal, Diego Dalot at right back with Varane and Martinez, with Shaw at left back, Casemiro, Fernandes and Eriksen in the midfield with Rashford, Martial and Mount. Now obviously for us this year, we're hoping it'll be Rasmus Højlund playing more than Martial, someone I did try and move on but wasn't able to sell, and Mount will likely appear somewhere in this midfield role, maybe where Eriksen is, Fernandes maybe moves across, and then this will be Antony, or potentially Jadon Sancho as well, who of course in real life looks like he's fallen out with the manager, but we're giving him a fresh start here. Whether we'll keep him for the full rebuild is another question, but we are giving him the chance in a United shirt. But there we go, our team is ready. Let's see how we get on in season 1, and then we can really get stuck into our transfers to take this team to another level. Before we do look at the results, you might notice we've got a new light in the background all flickering off. Let me know if that's too distracting, going too quick, or if it looks cool. I can change the settings of it and whatnot. This is the first time I'm using it in a video. I just thought we needed to spruce up the general background behind my head so it isn't just me and a few football shirts. We've got a few lights going on now, a new camera recently, a new lighting setup to light my face, so hopefully things are looking a bit better here on the channel. But speaking of looking a bit better, what would Manchester United fans think to this as a season? I feel like this is more of the same way United have been over the last few years, just kind of disappointing on all fronts. And, you know, Man United fans might disagree with that. They might say the last few years have been great, but compared to the glory days of Alex Ferguson, this is not what we want to see. And that is what we're aiming for. We want to make Man United the most dominant side in world football, and a Carabao Cup exit in the 3rd round to West Ham, a 5th round exit to Liverpool in the FA Cup, and a quarter-final Champions League loss to Sevilla is very disappointing. If we have a look in the group stage, how well did we do? Let's check it out. We had Marseille, Feyenoord and Sturm Graz, so a very easy way through for us, to be honest. We then go to the round of 16 and faced off against Dortmund, who we beat 6-2, and that must have given us a lot of confidence. However, Sevilla then beat us on penalties, which is of course something that's happened against Sevilla in real life to United in the Europa League recently, and it's eventually gone on to be, who is it in the final? Real Madrid and Benfica. We could have been there. That could have been us against Real Madrid or Benfica, but it wasn't to be. And then in the league, I mean, we lose 10 games. We finish 4th on 72 points, barely making a Champions League spot. Chelsea only 1 point behind us. Arsenal, City and Liverpool finishing ahead, with City and Liverpool miles away from how well we're doing. So very disappointing in that sense. But did we have any standout individual performers that we can build off of going forward? You will see Højlund here is in the striker role. Whilst I was simulating, I did ask the assistant manager to play the team that I've picked as often as possible. That team being just Højlund up front, in the hopes that Højlund would get a lot of game time. And he has done quite well. Has he developed much? Not necessarily, but he did score 21 goals in 38. By the way, with this transfer update, you might see some weird discrepancies. Like here it says that we got him from Sturm Graz for 14.75. In reality though, that was the fee that Atalanta paid for him, and then United obviously came in and paid a pretty sizable sum to sign him. But let's forget about what the transfer update shows. That doesn't affect how the actual rebuild works. But yes, 21 goals in 38 appearances is a very good first season. Not crazy numbers, to be honest, for a striker at Man United in Football Manager, but to have him come in at the age of 20 and score 20 league goals is impressive enough, and it's something to build off of. If we have a look at our other top performers, Rashford was brilliant this year. He's now considered the best player at the club and wanted by PSG. 19 goals and 13 assists in the Premier League as that inside inside forward on the left. A very, very good performance from him. Diego Dalot, surprisingly, our third best performer, with Varane, Eriksen and Mount as some of our other best. Mount getting 11 goals, Eriksen with 8, Fernandes with 7. Antony as well chipped in with 10 goals. We haven't spoke too much about him, but he will be an option on the right-hand side for us. £83 million signing, 10 goals, 9 assists, not too bad for us really. Now though, we've got £80 million to spend and 600 grand in the wage budget. This is where we can really get started at bringing in our kind of players. So let's get on with it, let's make some transfers and start making this United team our own. Okay, so we're looking at over £90 million worth of sales and over £140 million of incoming. So in terms of net transfers, it's not a crazy amount to be honest, and I think we have really improved the team. Firstly, Tyrell Malacia has left us to go join Villarreal for £19.5 million. Obviously, we have Luke Shaw as a starting left-back and a young left-back to deputise him that I'll show later. So I thought, you know what, let's sell Malacia on, get some money. So he's out the door. It's a sad day for United fans, but Big H, Harry Maguire, has left the club to go and join Roma for £16.75 million. Actually started 8 games for us last year, 13 appearances off the bench, but we didn't need him at centre-back. We've got enough depth there, so the England international goes to Roma to play alongside Chris Smalling at the back. Brandon Williams, a United player who's been out on loan for the majority of his recent seasons. We've decided to move him on permanently, and we got £11.5 million from Celtic for him, which seems like a great bit of business, to be honest. For me, far more than what he's actually worth here, but I guess he is a young Englishman with potential. I believe he was captain in the Man United youth teams back in the day. So yeah, we'll take the money for him and we'll reinvest that in the team. Donny van der Beek has left the club. Actually a very talented player in terms of his ability in Football Manager, but last year he appeared for us once, just not really worth keeping around. So we've sold him. Almeria came in for 10 million and he's now going off to Spain to play in their top division. Aaron Wan-Bissaka has also left the team. This one is quite a harsh sale, to be honest, because he is a very good deputy right back, but he only started 7 times for us last year, 8 appearances off the bench. Dalot did so well. Because of that, Wan-Bissaka came to us and said that he wanted to leave the club, and I wasn't really going to stand in his way. So we've got just under £10 million for him from Monaco, who are basically funding our whole team at this point. Altay Bayindir, Man United's new backup goalkeeper, after 1 season has decided he wanted to leave. He was saying, look, I want to be the first choice goalkeeper to get in the national team, and I just couldn't facilitate that. Onana was clearly the number 1 choice, so I decided to offer him out as he wanted, and he has now gone to Zenit for 9 million. Couple of controversial signings here potentially for Man United fans. I don't necessarily think these are the crown jewels of United's academy. We're not out here selling Garnacho just yet or anything like that, but Hannibal is a young player that's thought of very highly. For me though, I just don't really see how he fits our team. He is currently playing in real life for United, but I just don't really fancy him as a player. I'm not too sure on him. Yes, he's okay, but he's only a decent squad player and he's got a little bit of potential. He's 20 years of age. This is probably the best he's going to get. Is he really going to play for us that much? I didn't think so. So when Real Sociedad came through with an £8.75 million bid, it was hard to deny that. He's valued at about that much at Sociedad, so it feels like good value for what we've got for him. I just don't really see a future for him here at United, so I've decided to move him on, but maybe Man United fans will think I've got that one wrong. And then at right wing, we've got the likes of Sancho, Amad Diallo, and of course Antony as well, and a new signing that I'll show you in a second. So there was no room for someone like Facundo Pellistri, who despite his clear potential, just wasn't really growing in this FM world, and at 21, he wasn't ever going to really grow too much more than this. Last season, he didn't play much at all, so we've decided to sell him on. He goes to Salzburg for 6.25 million, getting the majority of the fee that we originally paid for him from Penarol. But yeah, Pellistri, we've got to go by what we see here in FM, and he is okay with decent potential that he's never going to reach, so we just decided it's time to sell him. Other notable moves include Tony Martial going out on loan to Inter Milan, Kobe Mainoo has gone out on loan to PAOK out in Greece, Amad Diallo is going on loan to Hamburg in Germany, and another promising young player, Shola Shortire, has gone out on loan to Granada for the year. Now the fun part though, the incomings. Obviously with Bayindir leaving, we needed a new backup goalkeeper, so we have signed Predrag Rajkovic, a Serbian international who is very happy to be a backup, thankfully, and he's only got the ability to really be a backup, but the 27-year-old joins us for 5.75 million from Mallorca. Look, he's a decent keeper, he will be a backup. I doubt we'll even think of him again in this rebuild. With Wan-Bissaka leaving, we've decided to bring in a right back to deputise with Dalot, but also push Dalot to another level, and we've gone for the German international Ridel Baku from Wolfsburg. Now he, despite being shown as a defensive wing back, actually has a lot of ability going forward. The scouts recommended him very highly, and we only go based off of scout reports. We don't use our own knowledge, we use the ratings that the scouts are giving players to try and find out, okay, these will be our targets, he's who we can actually get, and bring them in. And Baku looks like a great option at right back, 29 million. He's been playing very well for Wolfsburg last year. 7 average match rating is very good, and him and Dalot now can push each other in that right back spot. I know some Man U fans might not be fully convinced on Dalot, but he's very good, and in the FM world, he's got everything he needs to be a solid right back option, and I'm very happy with him right now. We've got a new striker at the club, but he is very much potential over ability right now. It's Karim Konate, who could potentially be the next Erling Haaland. We've signed him from RB Salzburg, and you know, Man U missed out on that opportunity to sign Haaland under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We're trying not to miss out on the next best thing here, signing Karim Konate, the Ivorian, £12 million or so. We're going to keep him around for a little bit, loan him out maybe for a few years, and then see how he develops and whether he can actually be that man to lead the line. But for this season, he'll be playing deputy to Rasmus Højlund up front. With Maguire, Evans, Lindelof and Bailly leaving, yes, we did bring in Ignacio, but we needed another centre-back, so we have signed Jean-Claire Todibo, who was linked with Man United in real life recently. 23-year-old Frenchman joins us for 42 million from Nice, where he was fantastic last year. Goals, assists and great play all around. Physically, he's dominant, he's 6'3" as well, a brilliant passer of the football, a perfect modern-day centre-back who enjoys big matches and is also a very consistent performer. I'm delighted to bring him in, and I think he is going to be one of the best centre-backs at the club. He can deputise under Varane for a little bit and then start to take over his role as time goes on. I think this could be a gem of a signing. And then we have our biggest transfer of the summer, Michael Elise, who joins us from Crystal Palace for 50 mil. Now look, there is a slight issue with this. When I signed him, I didn't realise just how much depth we did actually have in that right wing role, which is something I definitely should have considered before splashing 50 mil. But to be honest, I don't really think Sancho or Antony, for me, are going to be my long-term options in that right wing spot. Things might change, but I think definitely one of them will leave at some point in this rebuild. So I figured, you know what, Michael Elise, a very good player, arguably way better in real life than he's being shown in Football Manager here, but he's got a lot of potential, and I really do think he could be a great signing for us in the long term. We just need to find a way for him to get some football, to develop, and then I think he could really be a star in a United shirt. For those of you who are interested, I'll quickly click around on the squad depth screen so you can see the depth we've got in each area. We still got Johnny Evans here. I did kind of forget about that, and I do need to click this button. There you go. So Todibo, Varane, our best centre-backs, with Martinez and Ignacio, two other options. Here is Alvaro Fernandez, the young left-back that will be deputising for Luke Shaw, who allowed us to actually sell on Tyrell Malacia, and I think he's got great potential. He had a good year out at Granada, and hopefully he can build on that at the age of 20. McTominay still here, Casemiro too. We've obviously got Mount, Fernandez, Baku. Maybe we do need to start adding some extra midfielders into this team to really flesh that position out, with Casemiro, Eriksen and Bruno not being the youngest in the world. But we have got good depth all around. Garnacho's there, Sancho, Anthony Rashford, Karim Konate. This team is ready to go. I feel like we've got a good young squad, so let's see how they can get on in Season 2. Okay, this is a better season, still disappointing on the whole, but I think the United fans would appreciate this. Carabao Cup, knocked out in the 4th round by Brentford, let's forget. FA Cup, knocked out in the 3rd round by Middlesbrough, managed by Michael Carrick, let's forget about that too. But Champions League, we got all the way to the final, losing to Liverpool, which would have been heartbreaking for United fans, but at least we got there. And let's have a look at how we made it through. So, the group stage, we were with Milan, Celtic and Red Star Belgrade. We've managed to do well enough to go through there, get into the round of 16 where we faced off against Juve and demolished them 5-1 on aggregate. We then knock out Atletico Madrid 5-4 on aggregate. Then in the semis, we take on AC Milan and beat them 3-2 on aggregate, winning 3-0 at the San Siro. Liverpool then beat Inter, and then in the final, Liverpool did beat us. Let's see who the goal scorer was. Casemiro got sent off in the 85th minute with Darwin Núñez scoring in the 93rd. Casemiro letting us down there. Maybe time to start thinking about moving him on. But yes, we finished 3rd in the league, 74 points. To be honest, that's not many more than we had in that first year, but it has allowed us to get 3rd place this time round, with Arsenal dropping a bit further down, the same with Chelsea. But this time we are only 11 points off the title, still losing too many games, mind you, so we need to sort that out. 5-0 away to Everton. Have I just seen that? Did we lose 5-0 at Goodison Park? Absolutely disgraceful. We need to sort that out. It's been a great year for Rashford and Højlund yet again. Diallo has done well out on loan at Hamburg. Garnacho doing well this year with 11 goals. Fernandes with 12. Mount with 10. And Anthony scoring 12 too. In terms of our new signings, is anyone really impressed? Michael Olise played off the bench mostly. Didn't do too much for us. I mean, Baku having a very good year. 23 starts, 23 sub-appearances and a 7 average match rating. And Todibo, when he has played, has done fine. But those players will grow into the team over the long periods, I am sure. We've got £80 million to spend this year, though, with nearly 800 grand in the wage budget. We can make some big signings happen here if we can get it right. So let's see the kind of business we can bring in season 3. Before we get into the season 3 transfers though, if you are enjoying the video, please go ahead, hit that like button for me, hit the subscribe button, don't worry, I won't ask again, but if you could do that, I would class you as an absolute legend of the channel. So thank you to anyone who does that, but let's get back to the video. Okay guys, just quickly, a mistake on my end. I forgot to actually record the transfers part for season 3 and simulate it to the end of the season. So I'm going to quickly run over the transfers now. You will see we are at the end of the year, but we'll talk about our transfers first and then their performance. Firstly, Karim Konate went on loan to Olympiacos for the season. Amad Diallo went out on loan to Galatasaray. And Kobe Mainoo, developing nicely, has gone to play for Sturm Graz for the year. And we only made 3 signings this summer. First one being a backup striker because I thought Karim Konate wasn't quite ready to really compete with Højlund up front. So we've brought in Gabriel Barbosa on a free deal. This is Gabigol, the man that has tore up the Brazilian divisions, yet when he came to Europe, it didn't quite work for him. He did play for Inter for a little bit. He played for Benfica too. Never really worked out there, but you can see he absolutely tears it up in Brazil. We've got him on a free and he did okay for us. He only joined us in January on that free transfer, so he didn't play too much, but 3 goals, 12 assists. Like I say, bought in January with the future in mind. The next couple of seasons, hopefully he can be that deputy to Højlund up front, and he does definitely offer us something in the attack. We also bought in Nicolas Sievold from RB Leipzig. He cost us a pretty big fee of 44 million, but I do think he is a very talented midfielder, someone that can play a lot of different roles, whether that's Casemiro's more defensive role, a box-to-box midfielder maybe, or even going forward, he does have some creative ability. I think he'll be a good signing for us. He's a consistent performer too, and long-term, hopefully, will look like a good bit of business. But then we continued our long-standing tradition of spending big money on players from Ajax, bringing in Kenneth Taylor for £68 million, which I believe was his release clause. He isn't the kind of player that's going to rack up lots of numbers, but he is a very talented option to have in our midfield. I think he's going to be a great player for us long-term, and clearly, with his value being so high, he was at least worth the money we paid for him. Whether he'll perform well enough to recoup the fee that we actually paid is another question, but I was very happy to bring him in, and that led to this performance that you're seeing this year, which was a 5th place finish and a Carabao Cup. Yes, it's got worse for us really, let's be honest. I much preferred getting 3rd and being in the Champions League final, but what can you do? We're 3 seasons in, we've got 2 seasons left, and it's all been very, very Manchester United. And we really need to turn it up a notch if we want to go to another level. We have lost less games this year, but we've drew a few more as well. The Carabao Cup, let's not sniff our noses up at it. It's great to win, beating Arsenal in the final as well, 2-1. The FA Cup, we lost the final to Arsenal 3-2. Would have been nice to win both of them. Would have been a bit more forgivable in the other competitions. But the Champions League, let's see how we got on. The league phase, we made it through in 5th, so a very good performance there. Knockout playoff rounds, we obviously got to skip. We then went into the round of 16 and beat Inter Milan, so we did make the quarters where we lost to PSG. Obviously, that's a pretty hard draw. And then the league, I mean, very disappointing. Yes, we lost less games than normal, but we finished on 68 points in 5th. That's a Europa League spot at this point, and that's with teams like Chelsea in 9th. We've let Tottenham finish in 2nd. If we got the same amount of points as last year, we would have been in 3rd once more. So you really need to start up leveling a little bit, getting better, which we're not doing right now. So it's been a very disappointing year, I would say. Has anyone performed really well to make up for it? I mean, Højlund's had his best season yet with 44 goals. Rashford, 26 goals as well. Todibo and Baku doing very well for us. Garnacho only scoring 2, only appearing 11 times off the bench. I don't think he's had much of a season. Maybe he got injured. But it looks like this year the supporting cast just wasn't there. Yes, we have Højlund and Rashford, but outside of that, we normally had everyone else getting 10, 12 goals. Hasn't quite worked out for us this year, so we need to figure that one out. Let's see how much we've got to spend. 40 million. Obviously, that Europa League finish really hasn't helped us. 2 seasons left to go. I would actually say this rebuild so far has been a failure, which is saying something. Usually we at least do quite well, but I don't think a Carabao Cup is enough for us 3 years in. So we need to make sure these last 2 seasons we make up for it. So we've got 40 mil. Let's see what kind of transfer wizardry we can pull off in the transfer market. Just before we look at the season 4 transfers, I actually am very confused because our season has kind of started here as I've done the transfers. We played one match and drawn against Leicester 2-2. But what you can see here is we are in the Champions League, or at least it's showing the Champions League. And I don't understand how, because it did say we got a Europa League finish. If anyone knows what might have happened there, let me know. I don't know how we've actually got into the Champions League. I've just gone to check out the previous season's table. It's now saying we got a Champions League spot. Maybe someone won a competition like a Conference League and that made the difference. I don't know. We're not going to complain. We've been given a chance in the Champions League now, so we really need to go for it, and I'll show you the players we've bought in to help us do that. But firstly, the sale. Scott McTominay, his contract was up at the end of the season. We were getting absolutely nothing for him, so I decided to sell him on for 850k. When I say his contract was up, I mean last season it was about to run out, so right at the end we sold him, actually got a fee for him instead of letting him go for free, so he's joined Wolves for 850,000. A stupid transfer, I know, but he was going to leave on a free, so better to get some money for him than nothing. He told me as much that he was going to leave. The same situation for Martial. We've decided not to extend his deal. Did okay out at Inter, then came back to us and just started 19 games off the bench, never performed well. Just glad to have him off the books. He's someone that we can say goodbye to. Never quite worked for him at United despite the promising start early on, so goodbye to Martial, and we'll say hello to some new signings. But not before checking out some major sales, because Amad Diallo has left the club, 23 years of age at this point, never really reached any kind of potential. His years on loan hadn't gone crazy well either, but after a decent year at Galatasaray, Benfica came in, offered us 25 million, and I bit their hands off, to be honest. I think that's a good fee for the kind of player we've got here, and when we only had 40 million to spend, any of that money that we could possibly get would definitely help us. And Goncalo Ignacio, who we signed in our first season, has actually moved on to go to Porto. Obviously, he came from Sporting Club de Portugal, so that's a very big switch for him to go to Porto. But yeah, we bought him in for 35 mil. Never really got too much game time. After Todibo came in, he got even less. So to get the majority of our money back, I'll definitely take it. Clearly, I've got that transfer wrong, but you know what? We bring that money back in and we can reinvest it. Some transfers don't work out. We just have to be prepared to take the hit and bring in some better players. Kobe Mino gets his first proper test on loan, going to Union Berlin to play a full season in the German Bundesliga, the highest division he's played in yet. Karim Konate goes to FC Copenhagen, where he's hopefully going to keep scoring goals and developing. Shola Shortire has gone out to Galatasaray. And Jadon Sancho asked to leave, so we decided to try and get rid of him. No one wanted him, so eventually Real Madrid came in, offered us a loan deal where there's an optional future fee of 15 million. Whether they'll pay for it, I don't know. As soon as Real Madrid came in, he said he'd be unsettled if he didn't go, so it made sense for both parties. We can let him go and bring in some better players into the first team. Sancho, another transfer for United that didn't quite work out. We're going for a change of shape this season. I'll explain it all in a second, but we needed an attacking midfielder, so we've bought in Lazar Samardzic from Udinese for only 21 million. I think that's pretty good business. It won't even rise to anything else either. He's a young German player with good ability all around who I think could become a top level player, so we've gone and signed him, and hopefully this transfer will work out. Another cheap but good signing was Antonio Blanco, who joins us from Alaves for just under 20 million. Now this guy has been phenomenal in the first and second division for his Spanish side. He's got an international cap, he's 25 and already classed as one of the best midfielders at the club, which is very, very surprising for a player that we could get for so cheap. But he's got great ability. I can't pretend I actually know who he is in real life or anything, but right here he looks phenomenal and I'm very happy to have him in the team. We then spent 35 million on the man that United tried to get in real life this year, Jean-Claire Todibo. We'll explain why I felt like I needed him in a second, but obviously you saw Ignacio left for 23 million. We paid 35 mil for Kim Min-jae, which seems like good business to me. He signed from Bayern to PSG, didn't really play, and now we've bought him in, but he has been very good in his years at Bayern when he did play, so I think we've got a good player here, great ability all round, strong, and a physical presence to play alongside Todibo at the back more than likely. So now, with that being done, I can show you the team that we've gone for and the new tactic. We are looking for something a little bit more attacking, less defensive roles. We changed it from a 4-3-3 to a 4-2-3-1, so we're now going for Onana in goal, Dalot at the back with Luke Shaw still as our fullbacks, who I think both of them have been very good. We've obviously got some nice deputies in Baku and Alvaro Fernandez for them. Kim Min-jae and Todibo is our centre-back partnership, and we've adjusted the roles a little bit to have one be a bit more progressive and one be a bit more sturdy at the back, just looking to be an out-and-out defender. We've brought in the deep line playmaker role for Kenneth Taylor to operate in, as well as Nicholas Sievold on occasion. We've got Mount in that central midfield role with Fernandes in this attacking midfield, where Samardzic is also going to help him out with Rashford, Barbosa and Antony, but realistically Barbosa will likely be Rasmus Højlund. This season we'll hopefully see a bit more of Elise, Garnacho as well. We'll see them getting the team a bit more. And I think as far as first 11s go, this is now a very good team with some players in their prime, some players that are just getting there. But I have focused, as you can see this summer, a bit more on players to help the team right now, particularly with Kim Min-jae. I think we're signing a player in his prime who hopefully help us out a lot. So this is a side we're going for. Hopefully the change in tactic will allow us to do better. You can see that we are developing our youth recruitment and junior coaching. The club is on the way up, hopefully, and this year we just need to do better than 5th, let's be honest. And this is a crazy season. Have a look at this. Not only have we won the Premier League for the first time since Sir Alex has left on a pretty weird points total that we'll speak about in a second, but also we have delivered a Champions League to Manchester United. Let's break it down for you all. Carabao Cup, runners-up, losing to Liverpool 4-2. Don't worry though, we get our own back in the Champions League, beating them 4-2 in the final. We'll have a look at that game in a second. The FA Cup, knocked out in the quarters by Everton. Would have been nice to have won that, but it wasn't to be. Then in the league, with only 81 points, which is nothing nowadays in the Prem, we have managed to win the title. 3 losses, way less than before, and I don't know what Everton have got over us here. They've beaten us yet again 4-1. They beaten us in the FA Cup, and earlier we saw them beat us 5-1 or whatever it was. No idea what Everton have got against us. We draw 12 matches and somehow win the league. I don't know how. Man City only drew 7, but they lost 7. We finished 2 points above them in the end. 81 points is nothing, man. I don't know how we've got the title there, but we're not going to complain. The Champions League and the Premier League, we have delivered it, and for me now, no matter what happens in the last season, that is going to be a success. Considering we didn't even know we were going to be in the UCL when we first started season 4, that is insane that we've won it. And if the season hadn't gone well enough for United fans, there's some much better news that I'm going to deliver in a few minutes, but let's take a look at our best performers first. If we go to this tactics page and go to average rating, Højlund, 60 goals in 66 appearances in all competitions. That is insane from the Danishman, and that is the best season he's had so far. Well done to Rasmus, developing nicely. Rashford, so consistent in this team. He's been so good for us, and he is just an absolute hero in a United shirt now. Antony, Todibo, Bruno Fernandes having good years. Kim Min-jae being very solid at the back. Garnacho still performing nicely for us. Not developed into the player we thought he might. Now apparently playing for Spain instead of Argentina. That's an interesting one. Samardzic has a good year for us. A very nice first season for him. Joins us, 10 assists, 5 goals in the league. We'll definitely take that from the young German. Elise didn't really play much, but played well when he did play. Maybe time to move him on if he's not going to play too much. We'll think about that one next summer. Sancho had a good year out on loan, so maybe Real will pay that fee to sign him. But yes, absolutely delighted with this as a season. Let's take a look at that Champions League final, and then I'll break the news that Man United fans would have been dying to hear. I mean, Højlund with a hat-trick, with Mason Mount scoring the other goal. So clearly the business that Man U have done this summer was pretty good business, because it's those older players that have scored for us. The team that played in that final was Onana, Dalot, Varane, Kim Min-jae, Luke Shaw, Sievold and Mount, with Fernandes, Antony, Rashford and Højlund. I mean, it's not too much of a far cry from the team that Man U play in real life. Sievold and Kim Min-jae, I think the only players that aren't currently at Manchester United, and Kim Min-jae nearly signed for them. So, you know what? Sign Sievold, Erik ten Hag, and you will have a Champions League and League title. Here we go. After 12 minutes, we go 1-0 down. Harvey Elliott getting in behind on that right-hand side and tucking away. Then, in the 16th minute, not too long after conceding, we pull one back by the looks of it. Mason Mount plays it over to Højlund, who brings it down and volleys it over the head of Alisson Becker. Well done to him up front to make it 1-1. We then go into the 56th minute. It's going to be a Liverpool goal here with Andy Robertson getting down the left. An unlucky deflection finds Salah at the back post. And United fans at this point, having lost the FA Cup to Liverpool 4-2, must have been worrying. But in the 71st minute, our captain on the day by the looks of it, Marcus Rashford, pulls it back to Mason Mount to make it 2-2 with 20 minutes to go. And at this point, United fans would have been on the edge of their seat. Then in the 79th, we go forward. Liverpool with some very good players. I just saw Jamal Musiala in their team there. Here's Luke Shaw, still doing so well for us. Finds Højlund, who rises highest and heads it past the goalkeeper, beating Konate in the air to make it 3-2. And then only a minute or so later, we seal the deal. Liverpool try and play it out the back. Casemiro, still hitting around here, does well for us. Gabigol to Rashford to Højlund. A great bit of play, a nice incisive counter after winning the ball to make it 4-2. And that is the Champions League delivered to Manchester United with still one season to go. And you might see we've got £250 million to spend, £1.35 million in the wage budget. I've never seen anything like it. How have we got that? Well, Manchester United, your time is up with the Glazers. They have left the club. In October 2025, a new chairperson, a tycoon as well, a big business owner, took over from Avram Glazer. We have a new owner at the club, Lee Chen, and already he's delivered Man United a Champions League and a Premier League, and he's been more than helpful at improving the facilities as well. So £250 million to spend near enough. And now with one season left to go, our aim is to win more trophies, but try and not do what Alex Ferguson did, which was leave the club when the side maybe wasn't in the best shape. We want to make this team as incredible as possible and then leave after season 5 to give them the best chance of success in the future. So let's see who we can bring in with our major transfer budget. We mentioned potentially selling him this summer after a poor season last year, and we have done it. Michael Olise has left the club. This one never really worked out for us. We've got a few transfers wrong this time round, I must say. It's probably my fault. I bought him in when there was really no space in the squad for him, and he's gone to join AEK Athens for 16.5 million. No idea how he's ended up there, but that is where Michael Olise is in 2026. Karim Konate, another one that never really worked out. He's gone back to the Austrian divisions to play for a worse club than where he started. Nothing against Lask, but they are not RB Salzburg in terms of our ability at the minute, and after 2 seasons of not really scoring in Greece or Denmark, he makes his way back to Austria for about half the fee of what we paid for him. And eventually we got to that point. I said we'd never bring him up again in this rebuild, but we've had to. Predrag Rajkovic has left the club. He decided he wanted more first team football to try and get an opportunity in his national side, but look, we weren't providing it. Onana was our better goalkeeper, so he's left for 9.75 million, a big profit actually on what we paid for him. And I'll be honest, I might have gone a little crazy with the money that we got given. I don't think we've necessarily bought in quantity, but we've definitely bought in quality, but we've had to spend to bring it in. Firstly, this one you won't really care about. It's a new gen player, Bruno Gamma, our future right back. He is so good already, and yeah, he's only 18. We've signed him for 30 million from Boa Vista out in the Portuguese divisions. I believe that's Boa Vista anyway, I could be wrong. But yeah, £30 million for the future at right back. He'll eventually go on to replace Dalot and Baku. Very happy to have him at the club. I think that's a great signing, but not as good as bringing in Giorgio Scalvini. We are trying to build for the future. Varane and Casemiro have left this season at the end of their contract, so it was goodbye to them, and we needed 4 good centre-backs. We had Lisandro Martinez, we had Kim Min-jae, we had Todibo, and now we have another good option, Scalvini, only 22. Kim Min-jae and Martinez are in their prime. Scalvini is about to get there, so I think this is a nice way to have a passing of a guard eventually, I think. And 70 million on a release clause is actually a very good fee for the Atalanta centre-back, who's now valued at 150 mil. And when we signed him, it was described as a huge superstar transfer, one of the biggest names in world football at this point. I think that is probably the best signing that we've made so far. We then bought in Dani Olmo, some extra midfield talent. Obviously, Fernandez getting a little bit older. We need someone to do a similar job who's also maybe in the prime of his career, and at 28 with a release clause of 48.5 million, Dani Olmo was the man. Signing from Leipzig after a few years. This guy has got international experience, done well for the international team, and is valued at £80 million now. He can play centrally or in the attacking midfield role, and I think for just under 50 million, this is a good bit of business to really improve the quality of our first 11. And then I went a bit mad. Andre Onana wasn't rated too highly in the Football Manager world anymore. I mean, he's a 3-star keeper, I think he was. Yeah, 2.5 star as you can see. So I've decided to go over him and sign someone better. Onana as well at this point is 30, so he's not necessarily in the worst part of his career, but I just wanted someone different, and we had the money to spend. I wasn't going to let it sit there, and we have signed a 26-year-old goalkeeper in his prime who's got years left ahead of him yet, Diogo Costa. And you might look at him and think, oh, Jake, how much did you pay for him? Obviously, a lot of people know him as one of the best goalkeepers in the world. I've signed him in rebuilds before on a free deal from Porto. It wasn't quite the same here. We've done a very United transfer and spent 110 million on a goalkeeper. It's insane, I know, but we had the money to spend. I wasn't going to let it go to waste. We've got a new tycoon owner. He would have loved this, I'm sure. He just wants to spend the money and make the team look great. So he's came in 110 million. Yes, it's a mad deal, but he definitely improves our best 11, which we finish off looking like this in our final season. Costa, with Dalot, Todibo, Scalvini and Shaw, Sievold, Kenneth Taylor, Anthony, Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford and Gabriel Barbosa, who somehow still gets in the best 11 over Rasmus Højlund, which is absolutely disgraceful that he's only a 2.5 star ability advanced forward, considering last year he scored 60 goals in 66 games or whatever it was. A great bench, great ability all around. We've definitely improved the team. We're improving the facilities. You'll see the capacity of Old Trafford has gone down a lot. That's because they're expanding the stadium currently. So yes, we've got 1 season to go. Let's see how we can get on in our 5th and final season as United boss. And okay, this is a bit of a rough year, but still, I'd say successful. I mean, last season we have to bear in mind we won the UCL and the Premier League. This year, Carabao Cup is ours yet again. We beat Man City 3-1 in the final. The FA Cup we never won. We've lost that to Man City in the 5th round. The Super Cup, we lost to West Ham 2-1, very disappointing. The Champions League, we got to the final, which is great, but we did lose to Real Madrid. But that is showing that we can compete at the highest levels right now. Winning it one year, getting to the final the next, I'll definitely take it, even if we didn't win it. The Premier League, yes, we're not top, but we finished with 72 goal difference, and also, it's a way bigger points total than what we won with the other year. Liverpool, us, and City all have more points than what we had the season when we won it last season, so I'm not necessarily thinking this is a backstep, just City have also stepped it up, and we were only 1 point off of a title. Unfortunate as well, because we did have a very good run in. If we didn't lose to, say, Aston Villa here, we actually could have had the trophy, but the Real Madrid final, we did lose 2-1, as mentioned, Rodrigo scoring in extra time, Barbosa scoring in normal time, so it wasn't to be in those competitions, but we were very close in the Prem and the Champions League, and it's nice to see us competing at the highest end of things. Let's finish off by just having a look. Højlund with his best season yet, 63 goals in 44 starts, and he's now actually shown with the ability rating that we might consider him to have. A brilliant striker, delighted with him in the team. Rashford, Barbosa playing way more this year, I don't know how, but he has scored 27 goals. His best season for the club for sure. Fernandes still doing well. Dani Olmo having a great year, same with Mount, Sancho, Anthony, who both still end up at the club. I mean, Sancho is leaving at the end of this season to join Barcelona. Didn't want to extend his deal, so he's going over there. Cool, who cares? We are leaving. We are done. Our job is done. Facilities maxed out. Capacity 83,000. We've got a new chairman at the club. The club's been taken over and we have delivered a Champions League, I think 3 Carabao Cups or 2, and also a Premier League. I'm definitely going to take it. This side is ready to win more trophies after we leave. I'm very happy with that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and who you want to see rebuilt next. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.